Hi everybody! Good afternoon! Good afternoon! Welcome to Fun Fact Friday. Thanks for joining on. I always love having you on here. Today I come to you from my front yard. Welcome. Welcome. So today for Fun Fact Friday I wanted to tell you some facts about myself. Whenever I meet people online, I always wish that I could know more about them, get to know them better. So that's what I'm doing for you today. So welcome. Ask me questions. I'll watch the comments that pop up today. So if you guys have any questions, pop them in there and I will answer them for you. So I wanted to tell you that something about me is when I was younger, obviously when I was younger, it wasn't like in the future. It wasn't in the future. Hi Sandra. I went and lived in Oregon in an army tent for a summer. I went there like late spring and there was still snow. So we actually used the snow as our cooler. We just dug a hole in the snow and we would like stick our gallon of milk in there or whatever we bought. You know, obviously not things the animals could get too easily. But we lived in a like straight up army tent. We we went into the forest and we cleared off the ground cover and you know, like leveled it out, and we just like plopped down in the middle of the forest. It was awesome. And so we set up this army tent. Well, right after we got there, it started raining. I mean, Oregon rains a lot. So it started raining and it rained for like 2 weeks straight. And we were soggy, like so soggy. Everything was wet. Luckily, right when we had got there, we met this fantastic person who is a dear friend of mine now. Her name is Brandy, and she took us in. What happened is we show up into Oregon, no plan onto where we're going to live. We just have like a trailer or we just have our car of stuff, and we show up and we're like, we don't know a single soul in Oregon. We don't know anywhere to live in Oregon. The reason we went was to go snowboarding. We wanted to snowboard all summer because they have glacier there on Mount Hood. So that's why we went. So we got there, had no idea what to do. Brandy took us in. We lived at her place for a little while. This was the first summer. I went there for 2 summers. So the first summer, she took us in. We slept on her floor for a while. I mean, literally, we show up at her house and we're like, "Hi, Brandy. My name's Kenzie." And she's like, "Cool, I gotta go to work. I'll see you later on when I get home." And like, "Here's your bedroom." And that was seriously how my friendship with Brandy began, and it's become an amazing friendship. She's the kindest person. So anyway, okay, we'll fast forward to the next summer, okay? So here we are in the army tent, and it's raining, soggy, everything. It's like miserable. We're not having fun. We can't light a fire. Our playing cards are soggy. We're out of things to do that don't involve rain. So we call Brandy up and we're like, "Hey, we're sick of hanging out in our tent in the rain. Can we please come stay with you?" So she graciously let us come stay with her until the rain subsided, and that was a godsend. I mean, oh wow, that was good. That was good. So thank you, Brandy. So after the rain quit, we went back to our army tent, you know, dried everything out, not to gauge us, on the floor in our army tent, and then we got back to living. While we were there, I had a pet fish, a pet betta fish, and I kept it in like a iced tea, you know, how they got those on top, those iced tea containers. I kept the fish in there, and during a really cold night, the fish froze to death. We were not able to resuscitate the fish, so we had a little funeral for the fish, and we buried him in the Oregon forest. So that was a little bit sad. I'm an animal lover. My cat is right here bumping up against me. That's who I keep looking at. But yeah, so I've got a fish buried in the Oregon forest. So we lived in the woods. We showered in the woods. We had this bag that we would hang up in a tree. It was a shower bag, and we would like take the coldest shower ever. But we did learn after a while that if you put the bag on the dashboard in the car during the day, that it would heat up the water, and then we would have actually a decent temperature shower. So that was good. So I lived in Oregon. I loved living in Oregon. That's one of my favorite places in the US. If I didn't have family in the Utah area, I would probably live in Oregon. Although sometimes the amount of rain and like gray skies gets me down, because I do love the sun. I mean, look behind me. Look at this beautiful sky. Isn't that beautiful? I love days like this. It's a beautiful spring day, nice breeze. I wish every day of the year was like this weather. That'd be my wish. All right, so aside from Oregon, after a while, went on with life. You know, several years later, I then moved to New Zealand for 6 months. My husband got a work visa to go work in New Zealand at one of the ski resorts there. And so that was cool. We just like up and moved to New Zealand. We had everything like on our backs that, you know, to move for 6 months. We way overpacked. I didn't even wear half the clothes that I took with me. But that was quite an experience too. Met some another amazing, you know, group of fantastic people who I'm still friends with today, which is I'm very blessed with. So New Zealand, there's parts of New Zealand that are very much like Oregon, so that was cool. And there's parts of New Zealand that are very much like Utah, you know, kind of deserty, and also like Hawaii. It was very interesting to have all the different climates in New Zealand. So that was fun. My husband had a job for 5 months at the ski resort, and when that ended, that was on the North Island. And so when that was over, we got in our little car and we went and lived on the South Island and toured around. We just drove and, you know, slept wherever we ended up that evening in our tent. And so for a full month, we drove around the New Zealand South Island, and that was incredible. That was a great experience. Also a lot of rain. Sandra, it was all over the entire South Island. And then when I was on the North Island, we lived in the very, very center, right by the volcano, called Ruapehu. That's where we lived in the North Island. So that was a very cool experience. Now, when we were in New Zealand, we didn't take any of our own camping gear. So when we were traveling around for that last month, people were very gracious to us and borrowed us camping equipment to use. So the first night we drove, and it was like ready to be nighttime. And so we stopped somewhere to camp, and we get the tent out. My husband had rounded up this tent, and there were no tent poles in the tent bag. I was not happy about that. I was not impressed. I mean, who thinks to think if the poles are in the bag with the tent? We didn't. So we ended up finding these sticks in the woods and just like creating this teepee shape and tying the tent to these sticks, and it actually worked. And as we went along to different locations, we would pick up better sticks and upgrade our teepee, and so that was quite an experience as well. That was quite an experience. Oh, it makes me laugh. On our very last day, where we were going to catch the ferry back to catch the airplane, we threw the sticks away, and it was kind of a sad moment when we threw the sticks away, because they had traveled with us and improved with us along the way for our teepee that we had to create out of this gimped up tent. So that was actually a really fun adventure. New Zealand is another place that I would love to go back to. I would live there probably, but it was super cold when we were there, super cold. My husband seems to forget that fact, but every time I think about our winter in New Zealand, which is actually summer in America, I get very cold. So that means we had 3 winters in a row, and that was a lot of winter for me. I don't think I'd want to do that again. I have some friends who follow winter. They go from New Zealand to the U.S. back and forth, and I don't think I could hang with that. He did it for he's been doing it for 15 or 20 years or something, some outrageous length of time. So that's not for me. I love the summer. I love the springtime and the fall. Winter will be my least favorite time of year. But anyway, those are just a couple places that I have lived and loved and experienced. I think maybe part of my love of travel has come from living in different places. I have lived in other places as well, but those are my top 2. Hawaii was pretty amazing too, so we'll go top 3, Hawaii, Oregon, and New Zealand. So yeah, I think that's where my love of travel came in, and my parents instilled in me a sense of adventure, which I very much appreciate too. So I would love to hear where you guys have been, that you either lived or vacationed, and what you liked about those places. And maybe we can find some more items to add to our bucket list that we all have. And mine is growing really, really big. My bucket list. Whenever I book travel for customers, I'm like, oh yeah, I better add that onto my list. I seriously have a running list. It's getting big and beautiful, so it's great. Well, I appreciate you all for jumping on. I hope you have a safe weekend. Let's try to remember what this weekend is really about. I mean, people get days off work, which is great for them, but remember the reason for Memorial Day. There's a lot that happened and a lot of people who have sacrificed, so let's not forget that, okay? All right, I appreciate you all. Thanks for joining in Fun Fact Friday. Thanks for watching Kenzie again, and I will see you guys later on next week probably. All right, take care. Goodbye.